Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my channel. And y'all, I came in today to talk about Jay Wilson's live that he had last night and to give my opinion of what occurred on that live. Now, first of all, just like everyone is saying, I agree that he has a right to have whoever he wants to come visit his channel. He does have that right. I watched Five Babe's video this morning where she said that even Oprah has interviewed the KKK, and that is true. I watched that show. I remember that show well. But here's the difference between what Oprah did and what Jay Wilson did. Whenever Oprah has a guest on her show, we have seen the behind the scenes where they are vetting that guest. They look for things that, they can question the guest about, get cleared up before they hit that stage. And just like a lot of other YouTubers, I agree that that's what Jay Wilson should have done. Because anyone who knows that fella that he had on his show last night knows that guy's history. And for that, I was a little disappointed in Jay Wilson. I believe in the aftermath of his show, he's become aware of, who this guy is, what people have said about him, and what he's possibly done in the past. I believe that when you vet a person, you are prepared. And that's what Jay Wilson was not. He was not prepared. The show started off okay, and then it progressively got worse. Now, my opinion is this: had Jay Wilson known what he was dealing with when he brought this guy on, what he could have done is said something like this: I know that he's controversial. I understand some of the things that he said and done in the past, but I wanted to have him on my panel because I wanted to address those things. That would have set the mood and the tone of the conversation, and it would have helped the chat understand that Jay Wilson was acknowledging up front in the beginning that this guy does have a racist background on YouTube, and a lot of people were aware of him. I am going to be honest here, y'all. I could not sit through everything that was going on. So what I had to do is I had to leave Jay Wilson's chat, and come back to it after the show was over, and then slowly make my way through the video. Listening for a while, pausing it, going to watch something else, and then coming back to it, listen a little bit more, and then I just kept doing that until it was over. I just couldn't sit there in one fell swoop and listen and watch that guy disrespect not only the women that were on the panel, but Jay Wilson as well. Sometimes when you're in the moment of something, you can't see the full picture like the people that are viewing it. There was a point in Jay Wilson's live last night that he asked the chat if they thought the guy was racist, put 1 in the chat box, and if they didn't believe that he was racist, put 2. When I was on my way off the live, I noticed that there were quite a few 1s and there were a few 2s. And Jay Wilson went on to explain that he thought the guy was racially insensitive, racially ignorant, and everything else that he said. To those of you who watched it, you know what he said. But here's the thing. This is 2019. We know racism when we see it, when we feel it, when it's directed at us. We don't need anyone to tell us what's racist. also that feeling that we have when we know that someone is being racist towards us. It's a feeling that we have. Jay Wilson was not in the position to tell the people that were in his chat what racism was, because those racist feelings are in the eye of the beholder, meaning you can't tell me what makes me feel that you're being racist towards me, because that's my feeling. That chat that was there last night make up all 50 states probably here in this country. There were people from the north, people from the south, east, and west. So all of them could not have looked at that man and came to the same conclusion. Now, y'all, I don't really want to get into the direct things that the guy was saying, because if I sat here and did that today, I would have a damn heart attack because it upset me so much. But the part that bothered me as a woman, as a black woman, was, had Jay Wilson known what he was getting into when he brought that guy on, and when that guy started his little attack against those women that were on the panel, I felt that as a black man, he should have stopped the show that moment. Sometimes getting your coin, getting money, is not as important as dignity and protecting your own. Had it been me and I had a panel and there was a panel of black men and a white woman had come onto my show and started slowly, denigrating those black men, at that moment I would have stopped the show. I would have demonetized that video, and I would have turned to that person and said, you are not going to do this. I would not have left it up to my guests to defend themselves, because again, they were guests. It's just like having a guest in your home and something goes down. If you invited them, it is your job to protect them. Or at least when they are protecting themselves, you step in and you tell that person in no uncertain terms, you will not disrespect the women on this panel. Now, I understand you have your feelings. I understand that you have a certain mindset, but when you are a guest on my panel, you will curb the tone and volume of your voice when you are speaking to these black women. Because one thing that I did not like was the way that he raised his voice at those women. I kept waiting for Jay Wilson to turn to him and say, no, we're not going to have that. I kept waiting for that, and he did say a couple little things, but it wasn't strong enough. Now, the part about when Kwani came on, everyone knows Kwani's reputation and how Kwani feels about certain things. Now, what I didn't like is that Kwani got upset, because a lot of what Kwani said and felt, I feel to a certain degree. I just would have handled it better. But I guess because Kwani knows that guy's history, because Kwani is aware of what he has done and where he has been on YouTube, when she turned to Jay Wilson's channel and she realized that he was sitting there front and center, she went batshit crazy. That's just Kwani. Kwani was making good points, but she could not hold it in. She went off and went crazy. And on a certain level, as a black woman, I can understand that. Now, there are points of what Kwani was saying that I do not agree with, and I don't agree with the way that she handled it. I agree with the anger that she had, though, because I also felt that same anger. Y'all, let me just say this about white people, racism, and all of that. I'm 54 years old. In these 54 years, I've been a lot of places, done a lot of things, seen a lot of things. I've worked with white people. I've roamed with them in college. Actually, where I live at now, I live in a very, very diverse neighborhood. There are white people, Asian people, Mexicans, Africans. It's very, very diverse. I've also been in personal situations with white people, all different types of white people. Y'all, I've had ups and downs with them. I've had times when I hate them immensely. I've had times where I've had white friends that are my friends and I do call them a friend. I've had those that I work with that I can tell are racist. And some of the things that they've said to me or done to me over the years, I know how to call it out. So when I watched Jay Wilson's live last night, I saw a certain type of white person. This person said that he was Jewish. But what they do, this certain type of white people, is they believe that when they are being racist towards us, they're using all these big words and saying things that they believe that we're not catching, that it's over our head. You know, some of them are not just point blank in your face, direct and everything. They talk in circles, you know, in circles. And they think we're not intelligent enough to catch that shade, that racist tone in them, you know. But what they fail to realize is that we've been at this racism game since the moment we set foot on the shores of this country. We understand it in every form that it comes in. When I sat there last night and I watched that guy and his smug attitude and him talking about the angry black woman and all of that, like he has some expertise on what it is to be black and to be a woman. I was so outraged, so upset that this stereotype, this negative stereotype, is so predominant that even black men play into that thing, that we as black women are, you know, hateful, attitudey, you know, just we are that angry black woman. It has been said and repeated so many times that basically it is just what the world believes about us. The funny thing is, we as black women, we come in all different types, all different personalities. Yes, we do have angry black women, but we also have thinking, intelligent, breathing black women who are out in here in this world trying to make it against all types of odds that are against them. And when I watched that live last night, I don't want to be shady, but some of the women that were on the panel did not represent or could not articulate a defense towards the things that that guy was saying. I wish they would have had stronger females on there. I wish they would have had a black male on there. I wish the panel would, the makeup of the panel would have been different, because I think if they would have had stronger personalities, stronger opinions, that it would have shaped that discussion a little differently. The women that were on there were soft-spoken. Yes, they did get upset when certain things were said, but their comeback wasn't good to me. Now, when I say comeback, I don't mean that you're yelling and screaming and you're cussing and all of that, but there is a way to shut it down and be very firm about it. And they were just a little bit too nicey nice for me. Because had that been me on the panel and he would have been talking all that trash, the whole conversation would have been different. There is a way that I have learned to do it in my 54 years, that when I am in situations where white people are being very shady or trying to do that racist stuff where they believe that is over my head, I shut it down. I do not tolerate that. I don't care where they came from, who they are. It is not a north or south thing, because racism is not just a southern thing. I live here in Ohio, the state that slaves were trying to get to during slavery, when they were escaping the plantation. And I'm here to tell you that sometimes being in a northern state like Ohio is a lot worse, because see, some of our races, they hide behind a pretty face. We don't know who they are, but in the background they're doing all kinds of things or above our heads to show that they're racist. The only difference between the races here in the north and the south are the races in the south are in your face with it. It's a little different in Ohio when you don't know who is the racist. You know, that is, you're like a black person. And I'm going to use my daughter's analogy that I love. My daughter uses this analogy when we are the only black in a situation. She says, I was the only chocolate chip in the bag. See, up north here, there are a lot of times when we are the only chocolate chip in the bag. Y'all, I work in corporate America, and most of my years of being an adult and working in corporate America, I have either been the only chocolate chip in the bag or one of a few chocolate chips. I have learned how to shape shift when I'm in those situations. I have learned how to get them together when I'm in those situations. See, when I first started out working in corporate America, I was very young and I made a lot of mistakes. But I got to an age when I was about 30 where I started sitting back watching what was going on. And I got quiet and I learned, hey, if you're going to be in this world, you have to make them respect you. You cannot go into a situation and have them speaking to you any type of way and you allow that to happen. Go in there, use the brain that your mother gave you, and you get them together. Now, like I said, I am not a person that is for all that yelling, screaming, drama and all that. So my way is to do it quietly so that they can hear me even louder. Sometimes when you bring it down, and you make them listen to what you say, whether they agree or change their feelings or not, when they walk away from me, they're going to know how I feel. And I can do it without yelling, screaming, and all of that. And now that my children are out there in that world, I actually counsel them on how to do that, where they still remain, maintain their dignity, but basically they get a bitch told. And I feel that when we were watching what occurred last night, sure, there were times that Jay Wilson did say things. I'm not going to take that from him because I actually like Bro Jay and I will continue to watch him. I just did not like the show last night. I believe that things were allowed to go too far. I believe that when his chat was letting him know how they felt, that in that moment he dismissed their feelings. Now, I also believe that Brother Jay is a very reflective man. So I believe when he turned off that camera last night, turned off that mic, and he got into bed, he thought about what had just happened. And he probably got up this morning, did a little bit of homework, and understood what he had allowed on his panel and the repercussions of it. And I believe that in his mind, he's not sorry that he invited the guy on there. I believe that Jay Wilson is sorry that he didn't do his homework on him. So that's why I will give him another chance. But what I would advise him in the future is this: have a conversation with the person that you're going to invite on your panel. When you're going to put them in such a prominent role like that, have a conversation with them. I'm not saying don't have them on, but do your homework so when they do arrive and their mic is turned on, you are ready to do battle when battle is needed. Do not let them sit there and spew what that guy was spewing last night and, you know, be crazy towards the chat and also the people that were on the panel. Now, one thing that I will say that I don't really like, this thing where we keep talking about not letting, you know, comments on your channel, or when you have a panel, you know, people say and do things to mess up your coin, your bag. Now, bear with me with this when I say this. I understand that because, you know, YouTube does pay when we put out content. We do get a check every month. But there comes a time when money, as I said earlier in the video, is not that important. When I would have been sitting there, if I was Jay Wilson, as I sat there, I would have said to myself, you know what? This video I'm going to turn monetization off on. Because right now we're having a real conversation, and there may be things that are said and done that YouTube frowns on, but this moment is important. What makes me dislike what he did is because it kept coming back to the coin. Now, I'm not attacking him, you know, in that way, make your money, brother, whatever way you can. But for me, in that moment, that was a teachable moment that shouldn't have had anything to do with money. In that moment, he could have taught that man that sat there a lesson. He could have taught some things to his chat, and he could have taught the people who have viewed that live since it shut down last night. In that moment, it could have been a real conversation about race, a conversation that money was taken out of, and here we are, human beings, you know, in a situation where we need to really talk this out. So I did not like that thing where you keep going back to, you know, the coin, the coin, the coin. I did not like that. Now, I do agree with him on one thing. I cannot do all that cursing, yelling, and screaming. I'm like that too. Sometimes, y'all, when you have been raised in a quiet atmosphere, that your home, the home that was provided for you as a child, was quiet and peaceful, and then when you grow up and you know, have your home, you create that same type of environment for yourself. When you are in situations where people are cursing, yelling, and screaming, it keeps you a nervous wreck. So for me, and I can only speak of me, I try not to be around people that bring that type of drama into my life. And I notice when I watch my kids interact out in the world, that because they grew up in my home, they are now like that. My son tells me all the time that when he's around people yelling and screaming, or that there's a lot of confusion, it makes him nervous. And he's a 32-year-old man. So when people talk about Jay Wilson's demeanor and how he can let things go, I'm a lot like that as well. Because one thing about myself, I know me. So sometimes when people are saying negative things about you, or, you know, telling you who you are, and you know that's not you, it doesn't bother you. You can let it go easily because you do know who you are. And I believe that that's what happens with Jay Wilson. I see some of who I am in that aspect in him, because I've had comments in my comment section where people have said all kinds of negative things. I don't even delete a lot of them. I leave them out there because they don't know me. They don't know anything about me. So why should I let things like that bother me? Y'all, I'm going to end this video with this. Like I said, it was Jay Wilson's prerogative to have whoever he wanted on his channel. Myself, I could not have done that. And if I had, I would have had to do my homework and all of that. But I know this was a spur of the minute thing, and he just does this thing where he invites, 4 of his subscribers, and they have a panel. So I think what it is, he just didn't, take the time to do it. But I think that for him, last night was a teachable moment. Maybe in the future, before he allows these people on, he's going to have a little bit of a conversation with them to try to see who they are a little bit, as much as he can. But what I want to tell y'all is, when you are out here moving in the world, you have to be careful who you bring in your life, because actually what happened last night could lose Brother Jay some subscribers, because some people feel so strongly about what occurred on that panel excuse me, that they may not want to come back to his channel. And I know he'll probably say, well, then just good riddance. But you have to be careful who you bring into your atmosphere. They can change, what you have going on. A lot of older people say, what energy you bring into your world could negatively affect you. And with all these videos that are being made today, myself included, what Jay Wilson did last night has brought negativity into his world. And I don't know if I believe, that he owes anyone an apology. I don't know. It would be nice if he apologized to his chat and the women that were on his panel. But the people that watched the video in the aftermath, who watched the replay, they will form their own opinions, and there's nothing that he can do to change that. Now, I do believe I heard that he took the video down, and that shows me that he's done some thinking about what went out over YouTube last night. And I believe he has some regrets. And that's why I say, I'm not going to give up on him. I still like him, and I still will, be over there whenever he decides to make a video supporting him. Because it's all types of people that make up the black race. And I don't want to not be supportive because of one quote-unquote mistake. You get what I'm saying? I just don't want to do that, because I know that there have been times that I've come on here and I probably said some stuff that was wrong, or did some stuff that was wrong, and I do not want to be judged for that one mistake. So that's why I say I'll give him another chance. And with that, y'all, I'd like to know what you thought of the live from last night. If you watched it, what were your feelings? Do you think that Brother Jay handled things correctly? What did you think of that guy Jason? Did you know his history when you were watching it, or did you just watch it last night and you said, hey, I know what this is about? That's how I was, y'all. I was only in that live the first time, a few minutes, and then I had to leave. I even put in the chat, whose bright idea was this? I would leave and come back, because y'all, I just couldn't take it. And with that, y'all, this is the end of the video. Leave your comments down in the comment section, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye now.